Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Paris and I make videos all about candle making and the starting and managing of my small candle business, Lady Simone Candle Co. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 things you need to start a candle business at home. So I got my laptop here, which contains all of my talking notes. I like to have notes in front of me just to make sure I'm not missing anything. So let's get started. Number one, I will say, is to gain industry knowledge. And I wanted to make this number one because if you're anything like me, I started making candles literally because of a hobby. If you haven't already, I'll link in the cards above or in the description below of one of my previous videos, how candles empowered me. I was suffering from postpartum anxiety, and one of the ways that my doctor said that I could aid in getting through my postpartum is to find a relaxing hobby and have some forced me time, and making candles became a part of that hobby. It instantly relaxes me. I thoroughly enjoy the process of hand making those candles, and I was just a lover of candles just in general, but I never took it serious from a business perspective. I just made candles for my home and for my family. So when it came time to actually learn the business side of it and learn what it takes to actually start a candle business, I had to do my research. So I wanted to make this the number one point, is to do your research. I will say to get on Google. You can YouTube candle makers or small candle business owners such as myself. There's other YouTubers on here, and just kind of learn and be a sponge of what it takes to actually start a candle business. Things like how do you plan to fund your business? What type of business do you want? What type of business do you want to form? How do you plan to market your candles and market your business? Starting a candle business is not just about the making candle part of it. It's the actual operating the business side of it. So number one is do your research. Number two, set up your workspace. You obviously need some sort of heat source. So you not only need a place to actually melt your wax and make your candles, get the jars all set up, everything like that, but you need a place to store your supplies. You need a place to store your finished candles. You need a place, to set aside for labeling and have room for that, and to package and ship your candles. So I'm actually filming here in my loft, and this is where I have my printer and the labels, my blank labels where I print my labels for my candles. And then I have all of my shipping materials along this wall. I got bubble wrap behind me. I got packing peanuts over here. So I kind of have like a system where, I do a few orders at a time, and I bring the orders up here and I just begin to pack. So you need a place to make your candles, store your supplies, store your finished candles, and a place to ship and pack, your finished product. Number three is you need to plan out your business. Any type of business that you start, you're going to have to figure out a plan, right? To successfully sell candles, you have to answer a few questions. One being, what type of candles do you plan to make? What are your startup and ongoing costs are going to be? Where do you plan to sell your candles? Are you going to do it online? Are you just going to focus on markets? Are you going to try to do both? And I say this because it's not just, again, the making of the candles. It's an ongoing business, right? The ultimate goal is to be successful, to get everyone to know who you are, understand your brand, and of course love the scents that you're offering. So you kind of need to study your market, get a feel of who you want to market to. Is it best to just do it online? Should you get more appearances at craft shows and farmers markets? So those are the type of things that you kind of want to plan out, and that can coincide with doing your research. I did a lot of research on, where candle makers find the most success. Most of us do have websites, but we also find a lot of our traffic and a lot of our success at farmers markets, but those are also seasonally. So you have to think about those times of the year where, you may get more online sales versus, farmers market sales. And then even if you decide to do it online, do you want to do your own website, or do you want to do platforms such as Etsy? So those are things that you want to consider. Number 4 is make a list of supplies. As a candle maker, you already have a number of supplies anyway on hand, right? You've been playing with candles. You probably bought a couple candle kits and you found out that you like making candles. So you kind of just been ongoing making them. But now that you want to start a business, now you need an influx of supplies to keep it going. So you need things at the most basic level. I would say to have on hand at all times a double boiler system. If you're to the point where you can get a Presto pot, yay for you, I'm getting there. But in the meantime, at the most basic level, you can do the double boiler. Of course, you need wax, you need wicks, you need jars, you need dyes if you plan to make your candles or wax melts colored. You need fragrances, you need a scale, you need measuring instruments, you need a thermometer, lids, and packing materials. At the most basic level, those are things that you need to have on hand, kind of in rotation at all times, depending on the demand, right? And that's something that you will learn as you're in business. How often do people order what scent? How often do you need to order wax? So those are things that you'll kind of learn as you become a business owner. But at the most basic level, that's what you need to have on hand. Number 5 is select your supply vendors. Now, for me, this went along with my research. I was on YouTube, I was Googling, and, certain suppliers kind of caught my eye on different things I was researching. So those are kind of the suppliers that I started with. However, I think it's important to take into account where you live, because shipping cost, let's just pause on that. Shipping costs could eat you. Okay, so you want to consider where you live in perspective of where the supplier is, right? So there's a couple suppliers that I kind of deal with that are in my surrounding state. I live in the state of Ohio. We don't have a lot of candle suppliers, close near me where I can just go pick it up. So 9 times out of 10, I always have to get my stuff shipped. So there's a couple vendors that I have been using and that I recommend, and it's Lone Star Candle Supply, The Flaming Candle, Candle Science, and Fillmore Container. And then there's 2 other vendors that I just discovered, and that is Virginia Candle Supply and Pro Candle Supply. I actually had to order from those 2 vendors actually 2 weeks ago to in order to fulfill my pre-orders, because Candle Science and the Flaming Candle were kind of out of stock in some things, and I actually think the Flaming Candle had stopped taking orders on their site altogether to kind of get caught up on inventory. So I would always say have a few primary. If you can just order from one supplier, you only got to pay one thing of shipping every time you order. But I would also say have a few in your back pocket, because you never know, this supplier may be out of this fragrance or wax, but you can always order that same wax in that same big 45-pound, 50-pound case at another supplier. So I will always say have an extra 1 or 2 suppliers on hand that is in good enough proximity to where you live. Number 6 is figuring out your finances. This is a biggie, because operating a candle business can be quite expensive. You heard me just a second ago talking about shipping cost. And, I always recommend buying in bulk, but nonetheless, it's still expensive in general to start a business, bottom line. So it's important to get organized sooner than later. And, there's a few things that you need as a startup, things that I started out with. Some things are not necessary, but there are some things that you absolutely have to buy when you're a startup candle business. And that's things like what I just mentioned: wax, jars, wicks, oils, coloring agents, and consider shipping costs. So those are things that are going to constantly be hitting hitting your pockets, as you make candles, as people order, you're going to have to reorder and understand when you run out of this versus when you run out of that. So understanding your finances sooner than later and getting organized is probably one of the best things you can ever do to give your business the best shot and to kind of lower your stress. Starting a business is already nerve-wracking and stressful because you want everybody to love what you're offering and you want it to make sure it gets to the customer safely. You want to make sure you're offering the best quality products. There's a lot of competition out here. So you want to create loyalty amongst your customers, and doing that means making sure you're offering the most quality materials, and that means doing your research and, checking out the type of jars and the type of wicks and making sure you're doing a bunch of testing and things like that. And that requires money, guys. So getting your finances organized sooner rather than later is helpful. Trust me. Number 7 is deciding on a business name. Your candle business should be fun and catchy, and it should be unique. And my candle business name is LadyCIMONNE Candle Company. And Simone is actually my middle name. So I wanted to incorporate, since this candle business literally started from a healing process, I wanted this candle business to reflect as much as me as possible. I wanted you all, when you all receive a package from me, or when my customers receive a package from me and you open up that package, it literally reflects Paris. You get a sense of who I am. You get a sense of the fragrances that helped me through my postpartum anxiety and helped me recover and helped relax me. And I wanted my brand to be simple but elegant and high quality. And so I thought lady, when you think of a lady, you think of kind of royalty, and you kind of think of, you have high standards, and you treat me like a lady and all that stuff. And I take pride in the quality. I take pride in the product that I'm giving my customers. So I thought LadyCIMONNE kind of just fit the overall vision of my brand. So it's just important to think through that stuff. How do you want your brand to represent you? How do you want, do you want the name to incorporate something about your life? Do you want it to, tell a story? Do you want the name to be to where people are like, what does that mean? Or what made you come up with that name? So think of something that's catchy, something that, people will remember, and something that will literally represent you, because when they open that package, they're opening a piece of you. And so that's important too. You want to make sure you have a name. And you also want to mention, these are not things that you have to have right away, but it's also something that you want to consider. So I jotted some things down that I wanted you all to consider, that sooner rather than later, that I think is important, is deciding on a business model. I mentioned that earlier, whether or not you want to be an LLC, which is the most common, or things like a corporation, a sole proprietorship, or something else. There's several business entities that you can form, but it's important to kind of decide what type of business entity you want to be and get registered. Again, it's not something that you have to do day one, but it is something if you're considering being a business owner down the line, and you want to make sure your finances and your interest is protected, forming a business is part of that. Also, registering your business, you'll be able to get a EIN, which is an employee identification number. You can open up a business account, and you can get licensing and insurance if needed. Licensing isn't always required, but insurance is something that is kind of important that you should think about. One, because you want to stay safe and you want to stay legal. Your insurance company will be able to help you with things like finding the right coverage should something happen with your home, should a customer have a problem with what you've shipped to them. It kind of protects you and your finances. You can, separate your insurance from your home and your auto and just have your business insurance, and it will help keep you covered and safe should anything happen. It's all about being safe than sorry, and I'm actually seeking out insurance at this point. I've only been in business for a couple weeks. 2 weeks, I think it will be on Sunday. Although I've been making candles for a while, now that I'm an actual business and I'm selling it, I'm looking into insurance now. I have already formed my LLC, and I do have my EIN number. So opening up a business bank account is next on my list, and things like that. So I'm slowly but surely really establishing myself as a serious candle business owner. But it takes one step at a time. And again, these play along with your finances because this stuff costs money as well. Lastly is marketing. And I will say this is something that I'm actually struggling with, guys. And I solicit advice. Of course, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, and I'm here on YouTube. I'm slowly trying to grow my YouTube channel and my YouTube following, as well as my social media following. But it's hard trying to come up with marketing strategies and ways to reach your target audience. It's so much competition out there. So it's like, where do you start? So marketing is something that I am actually researching and trying to figure out what to do and where to go with marketing. It's a good idea to, focus on some type of marketing because you want people to get to know your brand, right? You want people to know who you are. And with this age, everything is digital, everything is online. So that's like your primary focus. Like, how do I reach this person on this social media platform and this, that, and the third? So, everyone has email addresses and all of that stuff like that. So it's like, do I try to build an email list? Do I try to, entice people with like VIP offers? Of course you offer like discounts if you sign up here. It's just a whole lot of things. But I will say, it is important, and it's one thing that is one of the main things that's going to get people to know who you are. Nobody's going to know you started a candle business if you don't try to market it. You can, of course, make a website. I actually have my own website. And then I have Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And now I'm just trying to figure out different ways and strategies to kind of get people's attention, get people to follow you. So you can also do things like giveaways or like I'm actually going to host a social media contest here soon where I'm giving away, candles and wax melts to 2 lucky winners. So I'm trying to just think of different ways to kind of get people to know who I am, get people to follow me, get people to recognize me, understand my sense, listen to my story, understand how candles and my story correlate and resonate with people. I know I'm not the only mom who's been through postpartum. It's a journey and it's a struggle, and you oftentimes feel alone. So my vision is to, build a community around that and connect with other moms that went through the same thing that I went through and find a way to, relate to them and hold their hand and say, look, girl, I've been there too. I've also, partnered with a charity supporting Mama's organization where I'm donating 10% of sales to their charity because I want to give back and I want to leave some type of footprint with my business. I want my business to make an impact in some way. So trying to kind of figure out how all of that can work together from a marketing perspective is kind of difficult. So just like I'm telling you to do your research on different marketing strategies, I'm actually doing the same thing. Also, when I ship out orders, I'm including a business card. And I know business cards can be looked at as real old school, right? But to me, it's still a tried and true way to get people to know you, to get people to have a conversation. And who knows, maybe that could be that customer that wants favors for their wedding, and they may contact you and say, hey, do you sell 4-ounce jars, or can you do a custom order for my wedding? That could be the sale. So, I still include business cards with all the orders I've been shipping out. And I also include wax melt samples of a fragrance that they didn't order as another way to kind of market my other scents. So I'm still trying to think of ways, and the more ways that I think about, of course, I'll, create videos and let you all know different marketing strategies and ideas that I'm coming up with too. So those are my top 8 things that you need to start a small candle business. These are the 8 things that I started out with. It's gotten me to this point. I've been open for 2 weeks and it's been going good. I'm slowly trying to get my name out there, though. It takes time, guys. So don't feel like this is a one and done overnight success. It's not going to be. You know, it takes time for people to know who you are, and it takes time for people to, you know, understand your story and understand your brand and what you represent. You know what I mean? So be patient with the process. Take your time. It's best to launch, you know, with the best chance of succeeding than to just throw your business out there, throw a business together and not understand where you're going with anything. So slow down and do your research. That's what I did. It took me a year to launch, not really for any particular reason, but to understand what I'm doing. And I still don't understand everything that I'm doing. There's still so much that I want to learn. There's so many questions that I still have. And as I get those answers, I'm going to make videos on them so I can be a help of somebody else, just like other YouTubers and candle business owners has helped me. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas, comments, or questions, leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos, guys. Bye.